Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hobby 365. Thank you very much for joining me for yet another video. Today we're going to be doing another unboxing. This is a new release from Horizon Hobby and their Losi lineup. This vehicle is based off of the Tenacity lineup, so if you're familiar with their short course trucks or their monster trucks, you'll kind of have the same idea as far as how this vehicle is put together and the features that are included. But let's kind of get started here so you can see what we got. As you see the buggy on the box here. On the side, we talk about all of the smart charging technologies as well as their telemetry stuff. On the back, it shows more information about the vehicle, some of its features. Talks about what radio it comes with, as well as the wheels and tires. Here on this side, we'll have our color options. Looks like we managed to get the blue and white one in this one. I'd kind of hoped we would get the darker color, but this one will do fine. And on the bottom, just kind of a generic picture of the model. You actually get a pretty good look at the darker color, which is one of the reasons I'd hoped we would receive that one. But this is the one we got, so we'll go ahead and cut this open and get this out of here. Packaging is kind of the traditional flair of packaging with zip ties, and controller will be located here. All right, we'll go ahead and cut these zip ties so we can get this out of the box and get a closer look. All right, getting that out, we have some functional lights here up front you can see, as well as some pretty cool grill work. These are not your molded into the plastic type of grills. I wish they would have maybe trimmed these out here, actually made these on the side functional for airflow, but it looks like they have just left that solid. You can see in this one here how you get that white color showing through as the solid body. So would have been nice to see them trim that out for airflow. Looking at the front end here, you can see it's all turnbuckles for adjustability, as well as looks like CVDs for the drive shafts. So we'll have nice constant velocity shafts in there. The traditional thick Losi plastics, as well as the sway bars. I don't know if you can, yeah, you can just make that out there. As well as the threaded aluminum shock bodies, which is something I wish most manufacturers would do going forward. Looking at the drivers here, looks like they have done some pretty interesting like vacuum line kind of things on their helmets for scale parts. On the back, this is a sway bar link. These actually use a torsion bar sway bar so that you can have sway bars in the rear. And more of the same treatment in the back with the adjustable tie rods and shocks. Looks like CVDs in the rear as well, which is something that we don't traditionally see in a model of this type when we get a ready-to-run car. Looks like it is a functional spare tire in the rear. I'm not really a big fan of these hanging off the back, just from a weight balance standpoint. So if you wanted to remove that, I guess that would be an option. Aluminum chassis underneath with lots, looks like metric hardware, so two millimeter drivers and 2.5 millimeter drivers would be the sizes that you'll need here. The tires are licensed to be of good wrenches, and they have pretty soft compounds and firm foam inserts, it feels like. We'll take the clips out of the front here and get a good look underneath the hood. These lids are a pivot, just like their previous models, and it looks like the sway bar is attached underneath here as opposed to attached to the chassis, which is kind of an interesting twist. Underneath you have your, underneath you have your brushless motors. In the future when you're looking at these, if you see 3 wires, You have brushless, 2 wires would be brushed. Looks like a Spectrum receiver with AVC is included, as is your pretty basic standard steering servo. The Spectrum technology equipment is here, and if you'll notice on these Spectrum speed controllers, this gray wire that's attached, that's a telemetry wire, so you can get your battery voltages from your battery cables. One thing to note is that this body is fairly sharp. I have managed to cut my thumb on that body, so you might want to take some care when you're dealing with this body folding over on you. All of the lights are all pre-wired inside here with nice extension cables and 1 cable for your connection, which is very convenient. Should you want to remove that, you can just unplug that connector there and remove the body and not mess with your wiring. The battery straps, they give you 3 straps here, and they run in the same direction. A lot of cars will run a strap this way as opposed to 3 in the same direction, but that's the way they've chosen to do it here in the Losi model. The controller that they're including is the brand new DX3 controller. These feature a telemetry battery level indicator on the side, just as they're including in the new ARMA models. There's a trap door up top here for you to expand with more telemetry if you wish. That's an add-on that you can use for your smartphone to read more of those sensors. They give you the throttle limit switches, just like within the previous ARMA models, where you do 100, 75, and 50% throttles. Now keep in mind that this will also limit your brakes and your reverse, so that's a sacrifice you'll have to make when using these controllers. They have the AVC adjustment knob here, should you wish to adjust your AVC sensitivity, which can make the vehicle easier or more difficult to drive, as well as your brake rates, your throttle trims, and your steering trims. Your third position switch is located here at the thumb, so if you wanted to program that for some functionality. And this vehicle, it does not have the need for 3-channel. This is just the radio that they included. The trigger feels like your standard Spectrum trigger with the spring tension that's in here, as does the steering, although the steering does feel a little bit cheaper than your typical Spectrum radio as far as the level of bounce that happens when it returns to center. The bind button is located here if you need to rebind your controller. This uses for standard AA batteries for its power source. As a recommendation, I would not recommend using rechargeables in these controllers, as the voltage is a little bit lower and may cause some range issues. The power button is located here to turn your controller on and off. Now that the vehicle is powered up, you can get a good look at their light kit here. So you'll have your light bar up top, as well as your 2 side lights here that are yellow. There is not a rear light, so you're just going to get headlights in this case. And looking at the controller, you can see the battery indicator light here. This battery is indicating that it is time to be charged. The one thing to note is that this car did not come pre-bound, so I did have to bind the transmitter and the receiver together in the traditional sense that you bind those up. I will do a video later to show how to do some binding, as well as how to do some programming on this speed controller, so you can get through some of your programming should you need it on any of the Horizon models. keeping in mind how sharp this body was, as I was doing my walk around with the camera, I noticed kind of an interesting thing that happens with these sway bars. If you lift this body up and this pivot point that is here on the sway bars, if you let that pivot point push forward, it will almost lock the body in like a hood latch. So that will be a nice thing that you can do while you're trying to work on your model to ensure that this doesn't keep falling down and irritating you. Well everyone, thank you very much for tuning in for yet another video. I hope you have enjoyed looking at Losi's new Lasernut buggy. If you have benefited from this video or enjoyed anything you've seen in the channel thus far, please consider giving me a few likes and some subscriptions, and don't forget to hit that bell. As I've mentioned in previous videos, if you're not hitting that bell, you're not getting the notifications that new videos are going up. So it would be worth going back to all of your subscriptions and making sure that those bells are hit so you do get those notifications, if you want to see those notifications, of course. Thanks again for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.